My name is Henry, and I've delivered mail in these Vermont hills for more than 30 years. It's a good job, an honest job, and it's been my anchor through all the seasons of my life. Most days, it's just me, the winding roads and the quiet rhythm of the engine, the changing leaves in autumn or the gentle hum of summer. But winter here, especially deep winter, that's a different beast entirely. Your breath freezes in the air, your fingers ache even inside your gloves, and the snow piles up like giants, pillows, making every step a labor. These days, with the gray hairs coming in thicker and the joints protesting a little more loudly each morning, the cold bites deeper than it ever used to. My daughter, Sarah, and my granddaughter, Lily, moved back in with me a little over a year ago. Sarah had a rough patch, a tough break with her job and a relationship that didn't work out, and my house, with its creaky floors and old stone fireplace, was the only place she felt safe enough to land. Lily, she's a bright spark, full of laughter and a curiosity that reminds me of Sarah when she was small. Having them here, it fills the house with a warmth no amount of firewood ever could. But it also means my mail carrier's salary, which used to be enough just for me, is now stretched thin, thinner than the ice on a winter puddle. Every extra dollar goes towards heating oil, groceries, school supplies, or trying to patch up the drafty windows in the old house. My internal nemesis, the one that whispers in my ear when the wind howls at night, is the fear of not being enough, of failing my family, of seeing that light in Lily's eyes dim because her old grandfather just can't keep up anymore. I'm 55, past my prime, and sometimes I wonder if the best of me is already behind me. I tried to make ends meet, believe me. I started picking up extra shifts whenever I could get them, pushing my old body harder than I knew I should. I even considered taking on a small cleaning job in the evenings, but after a 12-hour day on the route, my eyelids felt like they were weighted with lead, and I'd fall asleep in my armchair before the news even started. I tried to fix my old, beat-up mail truck myself whenever something went wrong, watching countless videos online, my hands raw and numb in the freezing garage. I'd pore over the utility bills, trying to find ways to cut back, turning the thermostat down lower and lower until we were all bundled in blankets inside the house. Sarah was looking for work too, applying for everything she could find, but the jobs that paid enough to really make a difference were scarce in our small town. We were trying, both of us, but it felt like we were running on a treadmill, moving fast but not really getting anywhere. Then the winter hit with a vengeance. It wasn't just cold, it was brutal. The heating bill in December was astronomical, a number that made my stomach clench into a hard knot. Just as I was trying to figure out how to pay it, my old mail truck, faithful as it had been, started making a horrible grinding noise. I knew what it meant. The transmission was going. I limped it into a local mechanic, a man I'd known for years, and his estimate for the repair might as well have been $1 million. It was far more than I had in my meager savings. Without the truck, I couldn't do my job. Without my job, we had nothing. I tried to borrow a friend's spare vehicle, but it was unreliable, breaking down twice in 1 week and causing me to be late with deliveries, something that could jeopardize my employment. My supervisor was understanding, but I could see the worry in his eyes. To make matters worse, I caught a nasty chest cold from working in the frigid air, forcing me to take a couple of sick days without pay, digging us deeper into a hole. The lowest point came a few weeks later. Lily, my sweet granddaughter, had been so excited about the school play. They were doing Peter Pan, and she desperately wanted to be a lost boy. The school sent home a notice about the costume fee, a small amount really, but it felt like a mountain to me. I looked at the number in my bank account, a pitiful sum, and I knew I couldn't even afford that. I sat in my cold kitchen that night, the wind rattling the windows, feeling the chill seep into my bones, and not just from the weather. It was a coldness inside, a deep, heavy despair. I had failed. I couldn't even get my granddaughter a costume for a school play. I thought about quitting my job, packing up and leaving, but where would I go? What would I do? I was too old to start over. The silence of the house pressed down on me, broken only by the mournful sighs of the wind. I felt utterly alone, completely adrift. That day, the weather forecast said it would be the coldest day of the entire year, with temperatures plummeting far below zero. I dreaded going out on my route the next morning, my feet already aching just thinking about it. The next morning, the air truly bit, sharp and unforgiving. Even through my thickest gloves, my fingers were numb, and my breath turned to instant clouds that vanished into the desolate gray sky. My old truck groaned louder than usual, each shift of the gear a personal protest against the cold. My spirits were as low as the temperature. Every mailbox I approached felt heavier, every step through the crusty snow an effort. I was so focused on just getting through the day, on not letting my hands freeze to the metal of the mailboxes, that I barely noticed the small package at first. It was sitting on top of the mailbox belonging to Mrs. Gable, an elderly woman on the furthest edge of my route, a quiet lady who always just waved from her window. The package wasn't addressed to her. It simply had my name, Henry Mail Carrier, scrawled neatly on it. My brow furrowed. I picked it up, feeling a flicker of confusion, then a strange warmth spreading through my chest before I even opened it. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, were 2 pairs of thick, fuzzy socks. But these weren't just any socks. They were battery-heated socks, the kind I'd seen in a catalog once and wished for but never dreamed of buying. Tucked beside them was a small, folded note, handwritten in elegant script. It simply said, "Thank you for all you do, Henry. Your dedication does not go unnoticed." Stay warm. I stood there in the biting cold, holding those socks, and something inside me, something that had been frozen solid for months, began to thaw. It wasn't just the physical warmth that would soon spread through my aching feet. It was the warmth of being seen. Someone had noticed. Someone had cared enough to think of me, to go out of their way, to offer a kindness without expecting anything in return. The tears stung my eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief, of a profound, unexpected gratitude. That small note, those simple socks, shattered the internal nemesis that had told me I was alone, that I was failing, that I was invisible. I put on a pair of the socks right there, slipping my frozen feet into their electric warmth, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt a spark of hope ignite within me. It was a tiny flame, but it was enough to push back against the vast, crushing darkness. That day, those socks became more than just an item of clothing. They became a symbol. They reminded me that even when the world feels cold and isolating, there are pockets of warmth, hands reaching out in unexpected ways. The next week, still wearing the heated socks, I drove my sputtering truck to the mechanic. I didn't hide my worries this time. I told him about the financial struggles, about my daughter and Lily, and yes, about the unexpected kindness of the socks. He listened, really listened, and then he looked at me and said, "Henry, you've been delivering my mail for decades. You're a good man. Let's see what we can do." He ended up sourcing a used part, did the labor for a fraction of his usual fee, and let me pay him in small installments. It was another act of kindness, a ripple effect from that initial gesture. Things slowly started to turn around. Sarah, buoyed by my renewed optimism, found a part-time job at the local library, a place she loved, and it helped us immensely. Inspired by the kindness I had received, I started looking for ways to pay it forward. I left a thank-you card and a small gift for the mechanic. I began keeping an eye out for other mail carriers, especially the younger ones just starting, offering advice, or sometimes just a hot cup of coffee on a cold morning. But most significantly, I decided to start a warmth for winter drive in our small town. I put up flyers in the post office and the general store, sharing my story of the heated socks and how a small act of kindness had changed everything for me. We collected donations of new socks, hats, gloves, and scarves for the elderly and for families who were struggling to stay warm. The response was overwhelming. My home, once so quiet, was now filled with bundles of donated winter gear, and the laughter of Lily and Sarah helping me sort through it all. Months passed, the snow melted, and spring unfolded its gentle beauty. My granddaughter Lily finally performed in her school play. She was a magnificent lost boy, her eyes shining with joy, wearing a costume Sarah and I had sewn together from thrift store finds, no school fee needed. As I watched her on stage, a warmth spread through me that had nothing to do with heated socks and everything to do with love, family, and connection. At the community fair that summer, I had a booth set up for the Warmth for Winter Drive, still collecting donations for the next season. An elderly woman, a familiar face from my route, approached me. It was Mrs. Gable. She looked at the display of socks and hats, then met my eyes with a gentle smile. "Henry," she said, her voice soft, "I hear you got quite a surprise on your route back in January." My heart skipped a beat. A wave of realization washed over me. It was her. This quiet, often frail-looking woman whom I'd always thought I was serving was actually the one who had reached out and held me up when I was about to fall. She just nodded, her eyes twinkling, a knowing kindness in their depths. She explained she'd seen me shivering so many times, seen the weariness in my walk, and just wanted to help. The smallest gesture from someone I'd barely known had become the turning point in my life, a reminder that we are all interconnected, all capable of profound kindness. You never know whose hand you are holding up, even when you think you're walking alone.